Welcome to the first edition of Up Sports Podcast. We hope to become your new favorite entertainment source of all relevant sports, culture, and humor. My name is Brock.
I'm Leek.
I'm Ty, and we all teed up.
Let's get right into it with the NBA playoffs. They've been very hot, very interesting. Talking about that Thunder-Blazers series. Blazers take a 3-1 lead, that Dame versus Westbrook action. How you guys feeling about that?
Yeah, Blazers is closing this series out. There's no question about it.
Frankly, going into the series, I didn't think it was going to be going like this. I thought OKC had the upper hand. Then all of a sudden, it's been taking a swing. They're down 3-1 now. I don't think they'll be able to come back from this.
The first two games really screwed OKC up. It's slow.
I'm actually one of the dudes. I was talking to Malik earlier about this. I don't think the series is over until it's over. I know what the Thunder are capable of. I've seen them all season. They've got these good players on every single aspect. Steven Adams is definitely better head-to-head than Cantor. We're talking Westbrook's definitely better than Dame head-to-head. In my opinion, Paul George better than McCollum. To me, there just needs to be some sort of coaching. They kind of just playing YMCA pickup ball, and they're not really getting anything done. I think if they get this Game 5, Game 6 at home is a lock for them, and then Game 7, that's where anything can happen.
I still think Game 7, Blazers is winning. Game 6 and 7. I think they're going to win either Game 6 or 7. I don't think OKC can come back from this. They're not – every year they choke in the playoffs. Every single year.
That Jazz series was
very
memorable.
I'm not too sure about Westbrook being better than Dame right now in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, no. Absolutely not. Yeah. But, I mean, Westbrook is a vet.
I've been one to say that Dame is underrated for a while now.
Everyone says that, though. So when everyone says you're underrated, you're overrated.
That's true. No, that's not true. But
you can't just be underrated. Everyone can't think you're underrated. That defeats the purpose of being underrated.
But it doesn't make you overrated. It just makes you a good player.
And honestly, I think what really fucked up the Thunder this series, man, is just Paul George's injury. You guys saw him pre-All-Star break.
That is true.
He was definitely in MVP contention. A lot of people kind of, gas that up a little bit. They're saying, oh, well, he was the clear-cut MVP. I don't really think that, but he was definitely top 5 player in the NBA pre-All-Star break. His shooting was incredible. His defense was incredible. And obviously, since the shoulder thing, he started wearing those little shoulder pads, too.
Yeah,
those you see those. The only person who can rock those and get away with that is Harden. He's the only one who could really wear those and get away with it without being injured.
Yeah, I feel like besides Harden, there's Harden, there's Giannis. Besides those two, who was bugging out all season? I think it was PG.
It was Paul George. Yeah.
Not anymore. PG. Not anymore.
Half of the season, not so much. But
Paul George was really stepping up. And compared to last season, Paul George was doing his thing, but it wasn't to this extent. He was really on a different level this year.
All right, let's talk about the Celtics sweep. Ty is a big Celtics fan. I've been saying
I'm a fake Celtics fan.
It is a fake Celtics fan a little bit.
Catch me at the TD Garden, man. That's all I'm gonna say.
We're gonna kind of break down this sweep. This might be, in my opinion, the least impressive sweep I've ever seen. They didn't dominate any game. Every game came close, and the Pacers kind of dominated the first half in every single game.
That is true.
A sweep's a sweep.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You can't take that
a sweep is a sweep.
Celtics 4-0, Pacers 0-4. They couldn't get a win off. I was actually there live for Game 2 to see the Celtics pull that off. The energy was electric. The Pacers completely out of their game. Once the Garden kicked in, we'll be going into the next round, looking to take out the Bucks. Not too worried about that.
Let's do a little Bucks Celtics preview. I'm the one who's been saying I love the Bucks to beat the Celtics. To me, last year the Bucks had worse head coach, had less role players. Giannis has obviously come into his own since then. Brogdon's been a lot better. He should be playing for that second series. Middleton's gotten a lot better. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Brook Lopez. And the Celtics, yeah, they got Kyrie back. Yeah, they got Hayward back. But they seem worse. They seem less defensive-minded. They seem less of a complete unit, kind of playing that Kyrie iso ball. What do you think?
I don't think they seem worse. At the beginning of the season, they definitely was a little sketchy.
Struggling,
but yeah, it took time for them to get it together. I think this season, I really think that the Celtics are going to beat the Bucks.
I think now we've got it in the bag. We definitely had some issues in the beginning of the season, but the chemistry's finally started to come in. We're starting to gel properly right before playoff time, which is like I was trying to tell people, that we're saving our energy for the playoffs. We're not too worried about the regular season because we know it's at stake here and it's for the chip. We go into the next round. The Bucks aren't. I don't know if they're too playoff ready for this. We're gonna have to see if Giannis can show us that jump shot.
That is the one thing. Bucks do not have a lot of experience in the playoffs.
Well, they were in the playoffs last year.
And what happened?
They went to Game 7 as a 7 seed
with
the number 2 seed.
All right.
So
you're right
you got to give them some credit. And their coach was Jason Kidd, or actually, it wasn't Jason Kidd. I think he got fired midway through the season. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're gonna have an interim coach, during a playoff series, probably not gonna win. So they took it to 7. I think obviously right now they're smacking the Pistons. Probably this game is on tonight, Game 4. Probably don't watch it. I'm gonna go ahead and assume it didn't start yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and assume Bucks by 27 is a safe bet for me.
I could probably put my house on the Bucks winning this Pistons game right here. Out of the Pistons don't stand a chance. They just don't have enough firepower. There's just not enough scorers in their unit. They're packing up early. I
see what Brock is saying about the Bucks, but I'll say this: if any team has a chance to beat them, it's the Celtics.
I think
Philly?
The Raptors
you
and
think
the Sixers
Philly
have a chance as well.
I do not see Raptors. I do not see Raptors beating the Bucks.
Personally, I feel like the Raptors are losing in the second round.
I do not see Raptors beating the Bucks.
Sixers are beating the Raptors. You're hearing that here first.
I see Kawhi doing what LeBron does. Carries his team and still loses.
Kawhi has proven a lot to me over this Magic series.
It's the Magic.
The beginning, I know it's the Magic, but when the Raptors first got him, I thought he was going to be a little bit off, first of all, because he hasn't played in a year. And also, I thought he was just going to be kind of a go-to guy down the clutch, but he's really came out as a player. Like, he's showing what he's capable of. He didn't really play that many regular season games. I think he missed some 22, 23 games, which is pretty ridiculous. But he's showing me, like, he's dropping 30 a night against the Magic. His defense is unbelievable. He's really showing me that he could be the best player in the East right now. Besides, after Giannis. Let me put a little asterisk there.
Yeah,
after Giannis, he could be the best player in the East.
I agree with that.
Yeah, not much to be said about that. Yeah. Kawhi's definitely proven himself. Yeah, just a champion.
Let's go into this Jazz-Rockets series. The Rockets take a 3-0 lead. They play tonight as well.
Sweet.
Man.
Not sure if it's going to be a sweep, maybe a gentleman's sweep.
I think it's going to be a sweep.
Gentlemen's
regardless. But the Rockets have the series down locked 3-0. Harden with a historically bad night.
Harden had one of his worst nights of his career,
and
they still won. And
5 for 20.
And they still won at Jazz's crib. I do not think they're going to win. I think it's a sweep.
Right there with the Jazz too. They won. They lost off the game winner. Right, Donovan Mitchell.
He missed the game
tie. I know Donovan's young. I know it's only second year in the playoffs, but those are shots he has to make. If he wants his team to go forward, those are shots he has to make. It's a wide. I've never seen a shot that open.
I mean, I don't think Jazz were ready for the Rockets coming into this series, so I didn't really expect too much. I expected maybe one game, like they'll take one away, but I didn't really expect too much.
The Rockets definitely own the Jazz. It's just a matchup nightmare. I mean, Rudy Gobert, he's a Defense Player of the Year candidate every year. He's a great player. And he looks like a man-child out there. He looks terrible. He's looking like, what was that dude on the Pacers? The old head. You know what I'm talking about?
Who?
Al Jefferson.
Was
that his name? Was that his name?
I don't think
not Roy Hibbert. The old head from the Jazz.
Mahimi?
No. He used to be on the Pacers a long time. I think it's Al Jefferson or something like that.
O'Neal?
Something like that. Regardless,
he's
looking like a baby is the point.
I've always hated
terrible. He's looking straight up garbage, and he's a Defense Player of the Year candidate. And the Rockets unit, I mean, they got a whole team. When Harden's having a bad game, Chris Paul is still managing the floor well. Clint Capella is coming into his own as a very reliable player. P.J. Tucker's hitting his threes, which is when P.J. Tucker hits his threes, I mean, you're probably going to lose the game. Daniel House, my man off the bench, the sixth man, he's looking very promising as well. They just got a good unit. And honestly, they play the Warriors next round if everything goes to plan with these 3-0, 3-1 leads.
Don't say it.
And I mean, the Rockets look scary, and they have Chris Paul for this year. I'm not saying the exact words that I'm sure everyone's thinking right now, but they definitely look.
Trust me, he
very
wants to
dangerous.
Say it.
They look very dangerous. And
he wants to say
maybe it'll go to 7 again.
He wants to say Rockets have they have a chance. He wants to say Rockets.
You can't say they don't have a chance.
They do. But he wants to say Rockets will beat the Warriors.
I just wish the Rockets weren't playing the Warriors in the second round. I wanted that to be
have to.
Like,
it's good for them. It's good for them because I mean, the other side of the bracket. If things go to plan, it's going to be Blazers, Nuggets, Blazers, Spurs. and those are a cakewalk for the Warriors or the Rockets. That's probably the best Western Conference Final matchup you could get, regardless of who wins, because the Warriors own the Blazers. That's been
I don't know
the
if
way
it'll be
forever.
a cakewalk for
For
the Rockets.
It's a cakewalk. It's a cakewalk.
No.
Unless
I
somebody
got-
gets injured.
I
in
got
the second
Blazers
round.
winning 2
Knock on
games.
wood.
I got Blazers winning
Yeah.
2 games.
Let's get into that Nuggets-Spurs series. It's tied 2-2 right now. Nuggets with a great Game 4 win on the road.
Nuggets
Something
are
I wasn't
chokers.
expecting, and I bet the Nuggets. Definitely was not expecting them to win that game the way they did. Showed some grit, showed some toughness. And Coach Malone, made a very interesting move. So he actually benched Morris, one of the starters for the Nuggets, to put in Torrey Craig, a guy off the bench who really didn't see that much minutes during the regular season for a while. And he was knocking down threes. So very questionable move, but it ends up paying off. What are your guys' thoughts on the rest of the series?
Personally, I was high on the Nuggets before the series started. I had them winning this in 5. They seem to be struggling a little bit. A lot of their young guys, not a lot of playoff experience for this team. I feel like Jokic needs to go ahead and take that next step up to bring his team to where they need to be. Also, Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, these boys got to start to get the engine going if they want to have a chance at beating the Spurs. A well-coached team. Popovich has been here before, not here to play.
I didn't really see the Nuggets going anywhere in the playoffs. I thought they were going to get kicked out first round. But these two, all season, gas my head up. Oh, but they're betting on the Nuggets almost every week. I'm like, all right, Nuggets are that team. They get to the playoffs and disappoint me. They're chokers, from what I see.
It's 2-2. It's a 3-game series now. They got
I do
game
not see
5,
that.
That's
game
not
7
your
at
ordinary
home.
7 seed either. You're playing a
Yeah,
tough
one
7
of the-
seed.
It's
not
Greg,
like
yeah.
Probably
a
the best
7
coach all
seed.
But
time.
I see the Spurs taking this.
Game 5?
No, just the
The
series.
series?
Yeah.
Well, Game 5 is at the Nuggets' crib, and then you got Game 6 at Spurs. Obviously, Game 6 I would give to Spurs. Just that crowd is going to be insane. I think it's going to go 7, and you know what they say: Game 7 is anything can happen.
That's
all
true.
About, it's all
But
about
if it's
star
Game
power.
7, I'm taking Greg. I'm just taking
Yeah.
Greg Pop. I have to.
Honestly, I think DeRozan is terrible. He's
Like a terrible player?
He's a pretty terrible player. I mean, every game I've watched, he's been pretty disappointing.
It's a hot take.
That game, he's not obviously terrible. He's a good player,
Yeah,
but he's
but
not.
you don't think
He's not
he's
your
as good
star
as-
player. He's not
yeah.
the guy you want taking all these shots, especially down the clutch. He was looking very
very
disappointing
true.
in Game 4, and if they could figure out just how to guard him, how to keep him contained, you're gonna have to put a lot on Aldridge's back. You're gonna have to put a lot on Derek White's back. I don't know if they're capable of that, especially Derek White. He was in the G League last year.
Definitely wasn't looking like that this year. So I don't know where he came from.
Let's get into this Sixers-Nets series. We had Ben Simmons versus Jared Dudley, one of the funniest moments of the playoff series thus far. Jimmy Butler kind of had to give him a nice shove in the back. Ends up getting ejected, but the Sixers still take a very crazy Game 4. What are you guys' thoughts on the remainder of this series? I think it's done.
Yeah, I didn't really see the Nets doing anything with them, but to
Game
be
one,
honest, when
yeah.
they won Game 1, that
That
surprised
made
me.
it crazy.
But I was like, all right, it's Game 1. Like, there's a lot of teams that lost Game 1 that should have won, but I didn't really see anything. D'Lo, I'm a huge D'Lo fan.
Yeah.
Huge D'Lo fan.
New
I'm a-
D'Lo fan.
No, huge D'Lo fan, but I didn't see him carrying them to, like, beating the Sixers or even winning more than 2 games, so...
Got to give credit to that Game 1 game. I was very nervous because I kind of had the Sixers in the series. We're from Connecticut, so a lot of our friends are Nets fans, and they were talking very highly of the Nets after that Game 1 win. But I'm glad it kind of came back to reality a little bit. Star power usually wins these kind of games.
Yeah, I feel like Philadelphia just has too much power. Butler, Embiid, Harris, Redick, Simmons. It's just too much for the Nets.
It's too much.
Nets is a good story, good season for them to turn things around. Hopefully, we'll be able to be better next year. But they're just not capable of beating the Sixers, no matter how hard they try.
All right, let's talk about the remainder of the Warriors-Clippers series. Warriors also took care of business, finally winning that Game 4 after blowing that 31-point lead.
Can you just repeat that? Can you repeat that one
blew
more
a
time?
31-point lead
man.
at home, Game 2. Honestly, my thoughts on that, I was watching the game. I was actually one of the people who stayed up for it. I was watching the game. They're up 31, yada, yada, yada. Kind of go on my phone, dazing off. Look up, 14, Clippers are down 14 with, I think 3 minutes left in the third quarter. I was like, this is kind of a game. And they looked like they had momentum shifting their way. Really, it's a bad loss for the Warriors, but they obviously answered back, especially on an early Friday morning game, which is definitely hard to reply. And on Easter, they have another early game. Clippers looked like they got some momentum. I think they took a 5 or 6 point lead at some point in the third. just came right back and showed that they could flip the switch at any time.
Yeah, we already know what we were expecting going into this series. We didn't think much of the Clippers. Clippers are a good team in the regular season, but once again, it just comes down to firepower. We're in the playoffs. Clippers don't have enough stars to take care of it. Of course, Lou Will is going to do his thing. Got Gallinari, he's going to do his thing. Harrell, they're going to play hard. Doc Rivers is a good coach, but at the end of the day, we're talking about the Warriors here. So, yeah, well, the Warriors will look to clean it up. I suggest they're going especially after losing DeMarcus Cousins, this should be a win that they have to. They're going to take this win, take that extra time rest, maybe working some plans for the next round against the Rockets.
What are your thoughts on DeMarcus Cousins being out for the remainder of up until the finals if they get there?
Before we get to that, I only have one thing to say about the Warriors. You can't be that good of a team and blow a 31-point lead.
I think they took that night off. That's all
like
it was.
it's just not like
they were up 31.
Like 31. Like you can't be that good of a team. Like all their starters are all-stars.
I saw some takes on Twitter. LeBron would never blow a 31-point lead in the playoffs. Well, LeBron will never have a 31-point lead in the playoffs. You got to blow a 31-point lead in the playoffs. You have to get to a 31-point lead in the playoffs, which only the Warriors and a couple other teams could do. You know?
I don't know if they got too comfortable.
It takes a lot.
To be honest, I don't even know.
Bucks and the Pistons. I think they probably had a 31-point lead
at one point.
But it's got to be.
Might be one of the worst ACs I've ever seen.
We don't even deserve to talk about that. But what do you guys think about DeMarcus Cousins
for
the rest up until the finals? I mean, they're going to play the Rockets. The Rockets, I mean, that pick and roll is just so easy with Capella, and we saw it in the regular season, just dimes to Capella for easy oops, easy buckets. It just seems like maybe the Warriors don't really have an answer for that, and that could be used kind of like to exploit the Rockets' offense and just keep things going and for them to get a lot of points easily.
Not so much want to talk about DeMarcus Cousins on the team, perhaps, but more so about him as an individual. You know, how's his injury going to go ahead, and it's definitely going to be affecting his contract. I don't know if any teams will want to pick him up.
He'll get a contract.
After he sees
he's going to get a contract.
He was looking for that max deal.
This definitely
does not getting that max anymore. Yeah. Probably get picked up for a cheaper contract again, trying to still prove himself. That injury really set him back.
It really did.
In his career, you know. Apparently he's a good dude. Hopefully we can get back on the court quickly.
And if he does come back in the finals, say they play the Bucks,
not a chance.
Right? He's guarding Giannis.
Not a chance.
No, I read on Twitter from verified Twitters, he's coming back for the finals if they get there, obviously. But even if he does come back, is he 100%? And do you want to start him even if he's at like 60%?
He'll get started if he comes back, I think.
I feel you have to. It's the finals.
Yeah. Right. Let's give out some finals predictions. Malik, go first. Who do you got coming out the West and East, and who wins, and in how many games?
Out the West, I obviously got the Warriors. I mean, I see the Rockets. Like, I can see them beating the Warriors. But I got the Warriors, and I'm going to have to go with the Celtics. Like, I don't know. It's a hard one, man. I really, the Bucks, come on. Like, I don't think they can do it.
What about you?
Yeah, I've got the Celtics coming out the East, obviously, and then the Warriors coming out the West.
How many games do the Warriors win in?
If it's versus who?
The Celtics.
The Celtics?
Celtics in 7.
Oh no! I definitely don't see that. I see Warriors in 6.
No, we're going. It's definitely going to 7 games. 100%.
I see Warriors.
The Warriors in the regular season they dominated the Celtics.
I see Warriors.
We're playing bad in the regular season. It's playoff time.
If it's Bucks, who do you guys think?
Warriors. Well, here's my finals.
If it's not Celtics, it's Sixers. The Bucks aren't going to the finals.
The Bucks will definitely beat the Sixers.
My hand just melted.
The Bucks aren't going to the finals. I'm sorry.
All right, what's your prediction, man?
I'm gonna go ahead and say I really want to say the Rockets because I do think they could beat the Warriors. I think the Warriors just have a little bit of flaw in their game. I don't think they're kind of prepared mentally. KD seems like he's on his way out already. But I'm going to go ahead and say the Warriors. I think they can get through it. I think even if they have a bad, game 1, game 2, or whatever at home and drop the lead in the series, I think they could still bounce back. They've proved us to that many times. But coming out the East, I'm going to go ahead and say the Raptors. I think the Bucks will get past the Celtics, but the Raptors just have been showing me what the playoffs are all about. It's all about strict defense. It's all about making shots when it matters most, and it's about star power. The Raptors have all of that. Pascal Siakam, to me, is one of the most underrated players in the NBA. He's actually underrated because not enough people talk about him. Marc Gasol, he's a proven vet, defensive player of the year. And then obviously Kawhi, who's, like I've been saying, he's one of the best players in the NBA, period. And they're just showing a lot. Their coach, Nick Nurse, is developing a really good team there. They have a good system. Their bench is consistent. I like what they've got going. And as much as I like the Bucks, I think the Raptors could edge them out. And the Raptors are going to be playing the Sixers next round. That's going to be probably their true test. If they can get past that,
definitely.
I think they got it. And that's going to be the test.
Raptors don't get past the Sixers.
Oh, my God.
They don't get past the Sixers. Too much on the Sixers, not enough on the Raptors. At the end of the day, I think the big X factor for the Raptors is Kyle Lowry going to perform? If Kyle Lowry,
it doesn't matter.
If Kyle Lowry doesn't perform, they won't get past Philly.
He's their point guard.
Philly they have too much players.
Kyle Lowry, he's going to be an issue against Philly.
Well,
but he could guard JJ Redick. And then there you go. You kind of have your X amount.
He's still going to get his buckets
going.
off.
That's the thing. He scores points. Kyle Lowry been looking a little suspect on that side.
I was never a fan of Kyle Lowry. I always hated him.
Let's get into our NBA awards. Who is your MVP, Malik?
My MVP is Giannis, but the MVP is Harden.
I think it's the other way around. I think it's the other way. I think Giannis will win MVP, but Harden deserves it.
I can see that, but I don't see how you can give it to like anyone else. Like this season, like Harden last year, like he went crazy. This year, like even crazier. Like I don't see how like you can like give it to anyone else.
The playoffs don't matter for MVP voting, but if they did, who does it hurt more, Giannis or Harden thus far?
Oh, it hurts Harden, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think so too. What about you?
It hurts Harden more, obviously, because his performance so far with the Jazz. It's been good. He had a rough game, but I think Harden's going to be the MVP. He deserves to be. They both deserve to be MVP, but I believe Harden's going to get picked, of course, unless we see potential co-MVPs. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Most improved player, Pascal for me.
There's a lot of good candidates for
D'Angelo Russell. Who else could you give it to?
Pascal.
Come on now.
Yeah,
Pascal.
It's D'Angelo Russell. All right, let's get this straight. Wasn't he in
Jokic? Yeah, you could also.
All right, Jokic. Yeah, you can.
I think he was an all-star last year, but he was close. He was good last year. Like it was pretty well known.
Like why would you not give it to D'Angelo Russell?
Pascal averages 20.
D'Angelo averages like what 23.
Wasn't he in the G League last year?
Pascal, yeah.
That's
literally the best.
All right, let's get this straight. D'Angelo Russell was in the NBA last year.
Yeah, but
it's most improved player. This is an NBA award. This isn't a G League award. He was in the G League last year. So how can you give it to him?
This man was quite literally a nobody. He was a nobody and comes into the NBA, and now he's the second best player on the Raptors.
But that shouldn't be a most improved player for an NBA award. He came out of nowhere. He was in the G League, came into the NBA. D'Angelo Russell was in the NBA. Looked like he wasn't trash, but he was bad. Like he was pretty bad. And this year, completely stepped his game up. And, he's a leader for that team. I don't think he's a real leader yet, but he's a leader for the Nets.
Sixth man of the year.
Who?
Lou Will, easily. Not even a question.
He's the fakest man. He's the fakest.
I don't like Lou Will, but
sixth man of the year. There is actually no question about who would be the other sixth man if Lou Will didn't get it. Who'd get that award? You can't even think of one. That's how you know it's Lou Will.
I would give it to Lou Will, but he's
Randle?
not. He wasn't a six man.
He was playing.
He's a starter. Yeah.
He got hurt, so that's beat.
To me, I mean, Lou Will is probably going to win it again. I think he has more six man awards than he has
Is Terrence Ross coming up?
Anything
else?
Terrence Ross.
He's not doing nothing though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to Lou Will too, but I mean, he gets 30 minutes a game. Spencer Dinwiddie's a good candidate. He is a good candidate. He's actually if we're talking like they're coming off the bench and they're playing 22 minutes, that's it. To me, Dinwiddie.
There were games where Dinwiddie would play better than any starter on the Nets. D'Lo and everyone
by far.
Yeah.
Like he had some very good games, especially in the playoffs. I think
playoffs,
Game 1 he was good, but I think Game 3 he had a really good game, even though they got kind of blown out. He was having a really good game. He's the one keeping them afloat. That's it for our NBA segment. We're gonna move into football a little bit, and even though it's kind of the off season, draft day is coming soon, and let's get this out of the way first. We all have our home teams. We all root for them. I'm a Giants fan, so obviously we need something desperately, and I don't really know what we're going to do about that. We have that 5 pick. I hope we move up and maybe get Kyler Murray or something like that. I just want a major culture change, and I'm kind of sick of Eli. I'm preaching the choir here for anybody who is a Giants fan. But obviously after that trade with Odell, What are your guys' thoughts on that trade? I could comment on it, but it would just be pretty bad.
I really don't see why. Do you know the real reason they traded him? Is it money issues? They paid him so much money. They didn't have money to.
They never liked Odell.
But did they not have the money to rebuild around him? Is that why they just got rid of him?
Well,
because
I don't
see why.
They paid him already, so he had.
That's what I'm saying. So he had all that money. Did they not have money to rebuild around him?
They have a good situation. The Giants, regardless of Odell or non-Odell. Right when they traded Odell, they signed Golden Tate to a terrible 4-year contract.
Right? Yeah.
Terrible contract. And then they extend Sterling Shepard, who I think is a good wide receiver, but he's like your number 2 guy, or maybe your number 3 guy on a really good team. I don't know if he deserves that kind of extension. He hasn't really proven much to me personally, and I'm a big fan of him as is.
I don't see why the Giants would even think about getting rid of him. A couple months before. When they were asked, about are you going to trade Odell? They were saying, why would we do that?
Yeah.
And then they trade him. That's why I don't know the real reason why they would do that. But I mean, Odell on the Browns.
The Knicks who traded Porzingis, though, they had the underlying reason that rape case came out.
Oh, here we go.
2 days later. So they traded him. There's an underlying thing.
Knicks
We're not going to get into the Knicks right now because that would be pretty
I
irrelevant.
got one word about this right here. 2 words. Russell Wilson. Yeah, Russell Wilson. That contract. Let's get into that contract a little bit. $140 million.
All right.
Over the next 4 seasons.
One question. Do you guys think Russell Wilson is overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Underrated?
Yeah.
I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's overrated at all.
I mean, the past couple seasons, he really hasn't been doing much.
Wow, that's
he really hasn't.
Scorching hot take,
bro. He comes out and makes plays. He makes insane plays. All right, we see it all over the internet. But they lose some of those games, bro. It's not I don't know. He's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong.
He made the playoffs.
He's a very good quarterback.
He made the playoffs last year with one of the worst teams or one of the worst NFL rosters I could remember making the playoffs. This past season.
Elite? No, I can't.
They don't have anybody elite besides Russell Wilson. They have obviously good
he's
wide
elite.
receivers, Lockett, Baldwin, but these guys are kind of washed. They're kind of undersized too. I mean, he was really putting in work. He was really carrying this team. And obviously they lost, but he was having great games.
I'll say this: his O-line is horrible. He needs a new O-line.
His O-line is actually his
on
paper it's horrible, but it looked okay from when I remember watching.
Yeah, because he's always scrambling out the pocket,
and that's what I'm saying. That's what makes him elite. That's why
they lose those games
because he's not Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins was the highest paid player before Russell Wilson. For those just who didn't know that, and obviously he had a very underwhelming season. They had 9 wins or 10 wins? No, they had 9 wins. Yeah, and 1 tie. They looked pretty bad, obviously. Didn't make the playoffs. Had a must-win game against the Bears. Didn't come through at the end. And Kirk Cousins, I mean, he got paid before this. Doesn't look good. Stafford got paid before this. Doesn't look good. Aaron Rodgers obviously got paid. He deserves it, but he's been injured, so he hasn't really looked good for his money. So you got to give Russell Wilson his money, and he's still a younger quarterback. It's not like you're paying a 30-year-old.
That's why I think he deserves the money. He's still young.
He deserves this kind of contract, in my opinion. And if he took that team to the playoffs last season, I mean, who's to say he doesn't do it again?
But they're not going to do anything. They're giving him. I think they should have negotiated. I think they should have negotiated and
Super Bowl. You can't always have a Super Bowl ready roster.
No,
I think comes when it comes.
That doesn't matter though. I think they should have negotiated, gave him less, and try to build around him.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
They're going to give him all this money just to hope that he brings his team to the Super Bowl? How are you going to build around him?
He did it before. He did it twice.
He had a team around him.
No, you're right.
He had the best defense in the league. He had Marshawn Lynch.
Quarterback's the most important position.
It is, but not in that team, bro. That defense was. I'm not saying the defense was carrying him, but without that defense and without Lynch, you really think he was going to the Super Bowl? Or no, they would probably still beat the Broncos. Really choked.
Lynch is definitely a good argument because Lynch is one of the best running backs I could ever remember.
Yeah,
when I watch football.
Even if they did go to the Super Bowl, still those 2 times. I think they still would have beat the Broncos.
They should be
Broncos
2-0
really
in Super Bowls
choked.
Too, but
if they didn't have that team and it was just like Russell with the team he has now, the Patriots would have dominated them. They would have dominated that game.
All right. So from this recording, the draft is in 3 days. we could break down the whole draft to a mock draft, but that would just be pretty boring to anybody who doesn't care. So let's just talk about one prospect. Who is your favorite prospect? I'll start off. My favorite prospect, and he's not actually my favorite prospect that I like a lot, but to me he's the most intriguing, and that's Kyler Murray. That's pretty obvious. The reason I think he's one of the most interesting prospects is because he's undersized. Obviously, the critics know that. He has a cannon of an arm, one of the best throwing arms I've ever seen in college football. And he's speedy. He runs out the pocket. He does a lot of things. He's kind of your modern NFL quarterback. He was about to play baseball for the Oakland Athletics, decided not to. I think 2 days before you could decide you could be eligible.
Draft, yeah.
So he that's my favorite prospect. He's the one to watch for me. The Cardinals were thinking about taking him, but they said today that they didn't want to do that. They want to stick with Rosen.
Stupid choice.
He's up for air. Like any team could get him. The Giants, the Raiders if they really wanted to. Like a team like the Titans. Like a lot of teams could just kind of throw their chips all in on him. What about you, Malik? Who's your favorite prospect?
I would have to go with Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah.
And I think the Giants should take him. I don't want to see Murray on the Giants. I think he's small. Like I hope the best for him, but I don't know. I just don't really. I hope he has a good future, but I mean,
besides Murray and Haskins, I think personally I have a sleeper pick for my favorite prospect in the upcoming draft, and that's Drew Lock. QB coming out.
Drew Lock.
What?
Coming out of Missouri senior year, typical build for your quarterback. You want someone big like
Drew
that, 6'4",
Lock.
6'4", 220. He's gonna be seen over the defense, getting him a lot of trouble. He's just got to polish his footwork up a little bit and just tone down his aggression. I think he'll be ready to go into the season pretty well.
With Ty saying that, I can assure you Drew Lock will be the backup quarterback for the Broncos for the next 8 years, and he'll have 2 snaps.
What do you guys think about?
He's a sleeper. I'm telling you,
He's a big sleeper.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about our Super Bowl predictions for this upcoming NFL season.
Ooh.
It's that time of year where you're that bored, where you start thinking of random good teams. Malik, go first. Who's your sleeper team of the year?
My sleeper team of the year? All right, well, first of all, Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. There's no doubt about it. I don't care what you guys say.
That's not a sleeper, though.
They're not a sleeper. I just had to throw that out
Let's
there.
put some quick little
the sleeper. I think my
Sleeper's
sleeper team of the year, and I shouldn't be saying this because
team that wasn't in the playoffs last year for sleeper.
Oh, that wasn't in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
I'm gonna go ahead and say the Pittsburgh Steelers are my sleeper team of the year.
Nah.
Addition by subtraction. You got to get rid of your just angry energy in the locker room. And Antonio Brown, I was gonna call him the C word, but I don't like saying that word. Antonio Brown obviously had a lot of issues with that team. He was throwing Juju under the bus. You guys saw those Instagram posts where he's basically sunning Juju.
Yeah, but AB is AB.
He's AB, yeah, but I think addition by subtraction, you get rid of a bad energy in your locker room. You bring in some fresh faces. You got Big Ben, who to me is still a really good quarterback. They have one of the best O-lines, one of the best D-lines, good cornerbacks, good receivers all around. They're just a well-rounded football team. They win those games at home. They have a pretty good division where they can win games. They'll probably go 2-0 against the Bengals. They're my sleeper team. They're going to make the playoffs. Whether or not they make noise, I don't know. But they're definitely going to give teams trouble, and they're definitely not a team you want to play.
No, my sleeper team, 100%, I got the Jets. I think the Jets are going to be coming in this season, going in really hard. Le'Veon Bell, Sam Darnold's definitely coming in, going to have more experience, going to up the team, 100%. Malik, what do you think? What's your sleeper team coming in?
I don't know if this is really a sleeper team, but I'm going to have to go with the Chargers. I shouldn't be saying that because I'm a Chiefs fan, but everyone thinks the Patriots. I don't get scared when we play the Patriots. I either expect a loss or I'm like, all right, we're beating them. The Chargers, I get scared every time we play them. That's a tough team.
Yeah, Keenan Allen, one of my favorite things about Keenan Allen, one of their star wide receivers, is this man wore a hoodie in every single game. It could be 80 degrees in fucking LA.
That was
this man was wearing a hoodie, and it takes a real savage to do something like that. And I'm pretty sure the NFL made a rule where you can't wear a hoodie on the jersey anymore because of Keenan Allen. So you got to give him some respect for that. I think Chargers 12-4 just because of the hoodie, and maybe a playoff win.
Just because of the hoodie.
You can't take away that hoodie. I mean, that's very dangerous.
Yeah, that team is crazy. Phillip Rivers got 10 kids. You can't fuck with a dude that has 10 kids. His pull-out game is weak. But in actuality, I think the Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl. They're going to the Super Bowl and they're winning next year. I don't see any team beating us. Our defense is still a little sus, but look where we got with no defense last year. Now we took a little step further, but we're going.
I'm going to say my Super Bowl team is the Rams. They got better somehow, and I kind of joke around with this team.
They did not get better.
They got Clay Matthews. They got Clay Matthews.
Clay
and they
Matthews,
got another
bro.
really good player.
Clay
who I can't
Matthews
think
not
of off the
elite
top of my head.
anymore.
Bro, you put Clay Matthews on the Rams with Aaron Donald, with Sue, with
Don't even
everybody.
name Sue. Sue,
Dude,
Sue started
can't-
off amazing
All right,
and did nothing.
Think about
the rest
this.
Of the
Think
season.
about this with Clay Matthews real quick. Clay Matthews on the Packers pretty much gets double teamed by 2 linemen every single time. You put Clay Matthews on the Rams, he's like the 3rd best fucking defensive lineman.
That's true, but
So
I don't see
like
the
you
Rams.
got to give him some credit for that.
Wait,
Like,
you have the Rams winning the Super Bowl?
I
or
think the
going
Rams are
back?
going to win the. I think the Rams are going to go back to the Super Bowl. I think they are capable of winning the Super Bowl. I think they
I
could
can
have
see
won
that.
this past Super Bowl too. Golf's going to get a little bit more experience. Like once you're at the lowest of low, once you lose a Super Bowl, like you're pretty much shamed for the public. You know what I mean? Your
Bro,
Instagram
teams-
comments are coming in hot.
I don't
like
know.
you're
Bro.
you're
Teams don't
facing
just
the
go
worst.
back the next year,
They don't.
unless
They
unless you're the
don't,
Patriots.
But I love their Rams system. Like they have a great head coach. They have really capable wide receivers.
They
have
do.
a smart quarterback.
McVay's a genius.
Like they're definitely capable of doing some of these things and going back to the Super Bowl. And the NFC is kind of a cakewalk. I mean, I don't think there's any team in the NFC that can go up to them and just compete with them. They don't have the firepower. They don't have the defense. So I think they could go back and really make a run. Like to me, they're a team that's capable of that, and their head coach is smart. Golf's gonna get better. The wide receivers are gonna do their thing. I mean,
I
they
don't
still
know.
got Cooks.
I'll take the Saints over the Rams if we're
Saints,
talking next year.
Drew Brees is
Saints
cooked,
should have
but
they should have beat them this year.
We'll
if we're
save the
being
Drew
honest.
Brees is cooked podcast for like week 4 when they lose to the Bengals. and some shit.
I mean, who's the real winner of that Saints and Rams game?
Let's not get into that.
That's all I'm saying. I mean,
Let's not get into that. Ty, who's your
I've got
Super
the
Bowl
Rams
team?
as well. I'm gonna have to
Okay.
agree with Max on this one.
Thank
After
you.
that,
Wow.
See, like they're not blinded by the Pats.
Devastating loss. I think they're gonna come in with just more experience for the next Super Bowl, and they got a chip on their shoulder. So they just lost that last one. I think they're gonna come into this one. We gotta take this. But also, I want to get into the bet predictions we got going on for bettors out there.
The end of every show, for our bettors, our gamblers out there, we're gonna do our best bet, whether it be for NBA, baseball, football, whatever's happening at the time. We're gonna give our best bet. This is our NBA playoffs edition. So, NBA playoffs. There's games going on as we record this, so we can't really give picks out on those because then you can't bet them and lose your hard-earned money on our dumb takes. But we're gonna have some betting predictions for Tuesday rather. And my first pick, my best bet, I think they're going to bounce back. Thunder plus 3.5. When you're at the lowest of your low, you get better. Like, you can only go up from when you're down. Westbrook's got nothing to lose. He's going to shoot a ton of shots, for better or worse. I think you got to kind of ride with him on that, though. Plus 3.5. If they win this game, it's going to go 7. And I think they know that. So they're definitely capable of winning that. They're going to throw everything at the Blazers. I think the Blazers think this is a cakewalk.
The game's on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, or Tuesday. So tomorrow, from when we're recording this, which is the 23rd. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Max said when you're at your lowest of your low, you get better. I don't know, man. Knicks and Giants, they've been at their low for
Two
past
Super Bowls.
Oklahoma's plus 4.
And Kevin Durant next year.
Kevin
Plus
Durant.
3.5,
Here we
yeah.
go.
All right, so you got Oklahoma plus 3 in that one. I think they might actually lose this game. They're at home.
No, they're
not at home. See, yeah, they might.
No.
This might be going to the series, but I think they'll cover the spread though. 3.5.
Plus 3.5.
Yeah, I think they can do that. I'd say
close.
I say OKC loses by 3.
You might see another Damian Lillard buzzer beater like he had against the Rockets that one time.
Yeah,
that would be a fitting
ending.
ending.
A typical.
But a winner.
For
That's a betting winner. That's how you earn
For
your
my
money.
bet, I'm gonna have to go against Max, and I'm going Blazers minus 3.5. I don't know, man. I don't see OKC bouncing back at all.
I honestly expected more. This is honestly just sad.
I don't see them bouncing back at all.
It's absurd,
So
quite honestly.
I'm gonna have to take that minus 3.5 for Blazers.
All right, so after you lose your money, don't get too mad at us. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube at TU Sports Pod. I repeat, that is TU Sports Pod. Thank you for tuning in to our first ever sports podcast. Be sure to tweet us or comment on our pictures and videos with feedback, with questions, comments, anything you could think of. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Brock. I'm out.
This is Leak. I'm out.
This is Ty. I'm out.